You asked all of your burning questions as they pertain to Airbnb, the Airbnb bust, real estate, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and everything in between. And I'm on vacation, but guess what? Content is never on vacation, because before I left, Caleb was like, Rob, if you don't give me a piece of content while you're on vacation, we are gonna fall behind on the content calendar, and I'm gonna come at your knees with a baseball bat. So here we are to answer all of your questions on today's episode of Rob Built. Let's do it. That's probably a pretty good intro. Here's the other thing about this AMA is that I'm in an Airbnb with a bunch of friends. That entire house has a bunch of windows that all face this exact angle. So I'm not only answering questions for you, but I'm also looking like a total dork answering all these questions. So let's bust them out. Kicking it off with my friend Frank here, he asked, what factor makes an Airbnb most appealing, location aside? Curb appeal, interior design, host reviews, unique building, cool front door, fun care package, hot tub. In other words, where to spend your money first. They are all equally important in different scenarios. Ultimately, I would say this. Curb appeal is important if you have an absolute dime piece of a house that's like a little cutie, particularly and spectacularly architectural. I think more important than that is actually the interior design, because to be honest, most of the time, I don't really like showing photos of my house. I don't really love promoting the outside because I don't want people to just sleuth it out and finding it out in the real world. But ultimately, where people are staying is on the inside, right? So it's all about how the inside makes them feel. So interior design is going to go a long way because people want to know, is it homey? Is it modern? Is it old, worn out furniture? And everything in between. But even more important than that these days, and again, this is going to be market dependent, I think amenities. Honestly, I think interior design can be fantastic. And if you're in a neighborhood where everyone has insane aesthetic, then how are you going to really stand out? It's going to be amenities. And so for me, if you haven't really gone back and watched a few videos, I've been preaching from the rooftops that I really believe that in 2023 and moving forward, it's an amenities game, which is why I built a crazy mini golf course in Crystal Beach. I got a video covering the entire process coming out very soon, and I actually think it might be the best video that's ever come out on the Rob Built channel. So if you want to see that, hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell, and you'll get notified when it's out. But I do really believe in things like movie theaters, mini putt. I'm trying to add a golf simulator to one of my Airbnbs, heated pools, hot tubs, pickleball courts, bocce ball courts, anything that gets people to do something outside and hang out as a group. I think that people will not only pay a premium for that, those are going to be the only places that they're really seeking, because everything else is just like a nice house with not much to it other than great aesthetic. How do you put rubbish bins out if you don't live near your Airbnb? This is always a pain point when I'm setting up a new Airbnb. I don't have a perfect system for all of them, but I will say the best case scenario is whenever you hire a service, like a trash valet of sorts, that comes out every single week, the day before your trash trucks come out, and they actually wheel out your trash cans to the curb. Trash company comes, takes all the trash, and then the next day they come back and roll it back to your house. That's gonna be the best way to do it. And I guess the second best way is asking your cleaners to do it. It's actually very common in the Smoky Mountains for cleaners to haul trash away and take it to the dump. Although even that current market is getting shook up in that capacity because it used to be free, and now the city is charging like a ton of money. So I actually don't know what my solution in the Smoky Mountains is gonna be. And then the third option, which is definitely the worst, is asking your guests to do it, because, you know, guests already hate whenever you ask them to rake your yard and paint your house and re-roof your house and all the crazy chores that Airbnb hosts ask their guests to do upon checkout. With that said, the only time that it's acceptable to ask your guests to take out the trash is for midterm rentals whenever they're staying 30 days at a time. My guests have never really complained about this in any of my MTRs. How to tell what your max price for your Airbnb is. So this one's always a very interesting one, especially when you're using pricing softwares like Price Labs. They ask you to put in a minimum and a maximum. I don't ever put a maximum. I don't really want to limit what an algorithm determines the max amount for my Airbnb should be, because certain peak seasons or events in the city might allow you to charge $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a night. And if you had a maximum set for, let's say, $500 in Austin, Texas during ACL weekend, then your pricing software would keep it at $500, and you could easily charge $1,000, and then you'd be leaving money on the table. With that said, you do probably want some guardrails, but I get a little bit more crazy with my max pricing 3, 6, and 9 months out. I charge a really big premium for being able to book my Airbnb 1 year in advance, and that really goes from 3 to 12 months in advance. I have my Airbnb at a very high premium, and then closer the openings are to today, that's when my price starts decreasing. And while I'm at it, not only am I charging a premium for stays that are 6 to 12 months out, I'm also putting a minimum night stay of 5 to 7 days a year in advance, because I want to know that when someone is booking my place that far in advance, I'm getting a very hefty 7-day reservation at a premium. Because most of the time I find that planners, people that are planning these big excursions or vacations for their groups of friends and families, they're willing to pay a premium that far in advance to lock down the best Airbnb in the area that they're searching for. So I don't really have a max price. I usually start high and then I keep working my way down, and then once I start getting booked a lot, you know, for a specific price point, that's when I start raising my prices again. It's not a perfect strategy, and it can get a lot more complicated and nuanced than that. But yeah, maybe I should make a whole video on pricing strategy instead of trying to boil down an incredibly nuanced topic in a 1-minute question on a Q&A on my channel. Yeah, we'll see. If enough of you comment wanting that, guess what? I'll make it. And by the way, every single question that I'm answering today is actually being sourced from Airbnb Besties, the raw-built short-term rental host and investor hub, my 100% free Facebook community that I would love for you to join. I started this specifically because I saw so many conversations and interactions and engagements and people giving each other their contact information in my YouTube comments that I figured, hey, why not give people a place where they could actually meet each other virtually on a group or something like that? So yeah, join my Facebook group. I'll leave a link in the description down below. We just hit 1,000 members and it's been less than a week. I want to get to 20,000 by the end of 2023, so help me get there. Okay, Don asks, short-term rentals have seen a ton of ups and downs, trends and fads. How long do you think the OMG unique design amenity listings will continue to be a focus for Airbnb? I think we got a good long while. I think right now there's this big backlash on how hotels are better choices than Airbnb. There's that whole TikTok crowd that likes to just complain about fees and chores and all that kind of stuff. And so there are people that are going back to the hotel world because a lot of people are thinking, well, why would I book an Airbnb when a hotel offers the same thing and blah, 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 right? There's that whole argument. So I think Airbnb in the short-term rental industry specifically is trying to cater to an audience that wants a little bit more than that hotel experience, which is why I do think that these unique listings and these oh my God listings are getting such press. At the end of the day, there is a feeling that you get from staying inside of a potato or an epic tree house or a spaceship or whatever unique experience that you can think of that you just can't get from a hotel. Hotels can be very nice. They can be very premium, very boutique-y, but at the end of the day, they don't make you feel adventurous or inspired or warm and fuzzy on the inside the way some of these more unique and amenity-driven Airbnbs are. So I think these are here to stay for a while, which is why going forward, I'm really only buying houses that I feel I can do something special with. Best automated lock. There are a bunch of these, the Slage on-code or the Slage on-code. I actually don't really know yet. I know I should know this. I'm pretty sure it's the Slage. The Slage on-code seems to be the industry standard. I've used them. They're a little finicky sometimes, but I don't really know if it's the lock's fault or if it's because I was at my beach house where the salt destroys everything, but that seems to be what most people are happy with. Next, need help with my listing title, any tips? Yeah, I have a few. I have a whole video where I teach you how to use ChatGPT to write all of your listing titles and descriptions and overall copy. Go watch that, but my first tip, first and foremost, is use up every character that you can and use words that actually describe your property and actually give you a sense of what you're getting. Like house on the hill, for example, that tells me some things, but it's a little boring, right? So try to spice it up with something like adorable house with views from atop the hill, something like that, right? Now I know, oh, it's on a hill, I got views of the city. One thing that I'm not really a big fan of is people tend to brand their Airbnbs calling it like the Tipsy Shell or the Broken Bear, I don't know, whatever name you come up with your Airbnb, they stick that in the title. Not a big fan of that because as much as I think your cute names for your Airbnb are awesome, and I'm a big believer of branding, I'm an advertising guy, as much as I love all that, it takes up very valuable real estate in an area where you don't have a ton of real estate, so don't waste any of your 50 characters with a 20 character name for your Airbnb because the name tells me nothing about the Airbnb. So I want you to be as descriptive as possible in your title. And you know what? I just thought of this. For those of you that are watching, if you need help writing the title for your Airbnb, drop a link to your Airbnb in the comments below and write, hey, what do you think of my title? And I'll go in and I'll see if I can spice up your titles, all right? I'll do this for the first 10 or 15 people that take me up on this, all right? What's the best game plan to turn your primary residence into an Airbnb? Okay, that's an interesting one. I guess I've done this a time or two. I guess first and foremost, detach yourself from all sentimental value that you have associated with that house, because if it's your primary residence, you spent years in there, maybe you had a baby in there, maybe you got married in there, whatever it is, this house is going to be dinged up, it's going to be scuffed, it's going to be scratched, things are going to break. You have to understand that, and for some reason, it's particularly hard when it's a primary residence because the primary residence is usually your baby. That's going to be number one. Number two is you have a great advantage. Congratulations. Wherever you move to next, you're going to get all new furniture because you're leaving your current furniture in your Airbnb. Now, with all that said, you have a very great advantage of knowing what furniture in your house is actually nice, what's industrial grade, what's contractor grade, you know, what was actually built well. Keep all that stuff in your Airbnb because you know that it's endured years of your use doing it. And then all the janky furniture that you have in your Airbnb, replace it with contractor grade furniture so you don't have to buy more furniture down the line. Remember my adage here, buy nice, not thrice. So always make sure that you're putting quality furniture in your primary residence. And then the last thing here, I think this is probably the most important So really, I cannot stress this enough. No matter how clean you are, no matter how organized you are, no matter how tidy you've been in your house, if you live there for more than 6 months, that house is absolutely disgusting. So don't just put furniture in your house, don't just hang up art, don't just make it all nice and cute and organized. Actually, move all the furniture out of every single room and do a mega deep clean, especially if you had pets. If you had dogs or cats, you will find dog hair and cat fur inside of your house for many, many years to come. So absolutely make sure that you spend hours in every single room cleaning it, because I guarantee you nasty. All jokes aside, you're probably really gross, so make sure that you're cleaning like super well, because I'm just seeing it every primary house. I'm like, that was me? I'm like that too, but we clean good. Oh, and if you have kids nasty, man. They're so gross. There's so much poop in your house if you have kids. So just make sure to take all the furniture out of every room and basically like wear a hazmat suit and just get on your knees with the scrubber and clean, clean, clean. Good. Ooh, I love this question. What is your favorite amenity to add to make an STR kid-friendly? Okay, I've got a couple of STRs that are not kid-friendly that I want to add more kid-friendly stuff to, and I've got ideas, I've got thoughts, I've got notes. Hear me out here. First and foremost, have a baby gate at your property. If there are stairs at your property, if there are multiple stairs, I've stayed at Airbnbs with multiple sets of stairs, and boy, is it terrifying when you're a parent. So that would be one. Two, a crib would be absolutely phenomenal, and I'm not talking about just like a pack and play, though pack and play is absolutely essential, but if you could have an actual crib, that would be amazing. Kids books would be super dope, but the dopest of all, if you want to be like a supreme Airbnb host, I've got two things for you, all right? Blackout curtains, and advertise that you have blackout curtains, and a sound machine. If you could do both of those things, you would make this parent and every other parent in America super, super happy. Aside from those things, whenever you're designing your Airbnb, think about the fact that there are kids that are going to be in your house. So don't buy sharp furniture, don't buy glass tables or very sharp coffee tables. Like, I know that you're not necessarily catering to parents and kids, but they will stay at your Airbnb, and you could just create much happier experiences and memories for parents. They didn't have to worry about your kid splitting their head open on a glass side table or a lamp falling on top of them. Is it worth getting a cost segregation done for a single Airbnb? Absolutely, so long as that Airbnb is more than 100,000. I think between 100,000 to 100 million is really that sweet spot. It's a big sweet spot. So yes, if your house is more than 100,000 bucks, for the most part, it makes a lot of sense, especially if you get your cost segregation done from strcostseg.com. We are ridiculously affordable for the product that we give you. It is not just some software that spits out your report. We actually have a team of engineers that QA every single report, and we will hopefully help you lower your tax bill by thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year. I've got a ton of content on that. Boom, boom. Go watch those videos if saving a crap ton of money on your taxes interests you, which it should, right? Like it should. I don't know why you guys like paying taxes. Has the rising interest rates changed your strategy at all? Fantastic question. I feel like I say that every time. You guys are asking a bunch of questions. Yes, it has changed my strategy. Still buying if the opportunity is really good. I'm doing a lot more BRRRR sters, which is a BRRRR into an STR. BRRRR stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, and then turn it into an STR, a BRRRR stir. So I'm doing a few of those at the moment. I'm doing some new construction at the moment to combat interest rates, because I'm able to build stuff at my cost. So even if I pay a higher interest rate, well, in theory, the cost basis of my house is much lower, so that helps counteract it. And then on top of that, the number one thing that I'm really pursuing that is a huge game changer right now for all Airbnb hosts is actually sub-to and seller financing and creative financing in general, where you go and take over payments of someone else's mortgage and then actually assume the interest rate that that previous buyer got. Yeah, and a lot of people think that's super impossible, but I actually just locked down a seller finance deal in Houston, Texas, in the Heights, which is an amazing neighborhood. And it's because I was driving and I saw a house with a for sale sign on it, and then on top of it, it said seller finance. Out in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't hiding. I didn't have to call 2,000 people to find this house. It was listed on the MLS, and it was a very niche and specific property that I guess a lot of people didn't want. But guess what? I wanted it, and I just signed the offer docs on it today. The seller's actually financing the entire note to me, 3% interest, 10% down, amortized over 30 years, maturing in 30 years. It's like an amazing deal. It's almost too good to be true, but it's an amazing house. Once in a lifetime opportunity, I would think, but I found it driving in the neighborhood. So if it could happen to me, it could happen to you. Also, I just released a video about how I got my $843,000 all through creative finance as well. So go check that out. It's this one right here. But watch this after this video. Is Joshua Tree still a good investment location? That's a good, that probably will be the title. Why it's over for all Joshua Tree investors. Yeah, something like that. Yes and no. I think it's a difficult market for a lot of reasons. There was a moment there where it was popping off like crazy, and then a lot of people were buying a ton of real estate out there, kind of buying some of these shacks or some of these older ranch style homes, painting them white, you know, putting bleached oak flooring in them, making them look really kind of like nice ranch style homes. And those were doing well, but then came in more of the developer types and more people like me that were building these newer, modern, white stucco construction type homes. And I'm not gonna say that I set the look out there, but there are a lot of houses out there that look eerily similar to both Conejo and Mariposa, but that's neither here nor there. But those are really the houses that I'm finding are booking like crazy. I had a host camper build an amazing modern house out there. They decided they wanted the cash, so they actually sold it, and then another host camper bought it, and guess what? He's booked out like 4 or 5 months in advance. Actually very proud of him, Chris. Good job. Amazing, and his house is super cool, has a ton of outdoor amenities, hot tubs, fire pits. It's a real outdoor experience. So right now, the people that are winning Joshua Tree are people who have newer, higher end modern construction with a ton of outdoor amenities. I know I sound like a broken record here, but I'm telling you,
the outdoor amenities
are so important, especially in a place like Joshua Tree, where so many people go out there specifically for that influencer in the influencers in the wild, like everywhere, but like for that Instagram photo. People are going out there to take photos out in Mother Nature next to Joshua trees, overlooking the views. And so many people want to do that from inside of a hot tub or under a pergola or next to a mural or chilling in a pool in a floaty, whatever it is. Those outdoor experiences are what's killing it out there. So if you're thinking about investing in Joshua Tree, ask yourself, how can I make the outside of my house way better than the inside of my house? And if you can answer that question, I think it's a great place to invest. I have found that my tiny house has slowed down in bookings, and I was a little nervous about this for a little while because I was like, dang, I mean, I had such a great first year, but that was really during the pandemic and right after the pandemic. And then bookings started to slow down. I went from $83,000 a year to $57,000 a year. And I think that's probably where I'm going to be this year too, maybe 55. I'll update you when I have those numbers. And so I was really ready to accept that that's just how much money my property is going to make. But then I started looking at all my competition. They have these outdoor masterpiece backyards everywhere that are just super Instagrammable, like super photographic and photogenic. So I'm actually going to be investing about $20,000 to $40,000 into my backyard to make it way cooler than the tiny house, which is hard to do because my tiny house is super cool. But I think if I do that, I can actually get my revenue back from 55, 57 back into the 70s. It's going to be a fun experiment, and I'm happy to do it and be the guinea pig and let you know if it works. As I always do, I'll update you on my journey, and if my investments and experiments end up panning out, and if they don't, well, I'll let you know. I think that's going to conclude today's episode of Raw Built. The ton of really good questions. Again, I got those all from the Airbnb Besties Facebook group. Go join that if you want to be a part of my free community. And the last thing I want to say is that I'm putting a bunch of time and energy and effort along with my team. My beautiful wife is my event planner, but I'm putting so much time into HostCon, my short-term rental conference happening in Houston, Texas from October 28th through the 30th. I would love for you to come out and hang out with me and hundreds of other short-term rental investors. We are going to be networking, masterminding together. But on top of that, my speaking lineup is one of the most epic lineups of all time. I've got Pace Morby, Creative Finance King, coming out, Avery Carl, the owner of the short-term shop, Jesse Vasquez, an amazing midterm rental expert. I got some seriously heavy-hitting speakers coming out to HostCon to help take your short-term rental business to the next level. So come out and hang with me. I think this is the very last video where you are going to get the opportunity to get early bird tickets for HostCon. So if you want to get 50% off of general admission, go to hostcon.com. I'll catch you on the next episode of Raw Built. Thanks. Love you. Bye.